Georgie Fleming Morris has always been the spirit of Heartland. Fans have watched her grow, defy, stumble, and rise from challenges. But season 19 ends with a turn that resonates deeply within her. After everything she's navigated, finding her biological family, pursuing her show-jumping dreams, and trying to stay resilient for those she loves, Georgie makes a decision that catches everyone by surprise. A quiet declaration, yet one that reshapes her entire world. It's not loud, not melodramatic, but it's profoundly impactful. And now fans are left wondering, is this the end of Georgie's journey at Heartland, or the dawn of something even more extraordinary? Season 19 of Heartland opens in a familiar setting. Georgie is working with horses, focused, driven, but with a subtle weariness in her eyes. There's a facade of peace, but anyone who has followed her story knows that beneath the calm exterior lies a deeper truth. Since her early days at Heartland, Georgie has carried more than just her aspirations. She's carried the weight of her past, the pressure of excelling in her riding career, and the unspoken burden of being the independent spirit for everyone around her. In season 19, Georgie's narrative feels like it's reaching a quiet crossroads. There's less external turmoil, but internally, a significant shift is occurring. She's still pushing herself in her training, still inspiring younger riders. Her passion for horses has never wavered. In fact, that connection seems even more profound now. But fans can sense that Georgie isn't just pushing forward anymore. This season, she begins to truly understand herself. One pivotal moment early in the season illustrates this change. A young rider named Maya brings a difficult horse to Heartland, desperate for help. The horse is headstrong, unpredictable, and fiercely independent, much like Georgie once was when she first arrived. Instead of simply training the horse, Georgie ends up mentoring Maya too. She teaches her how to channel that wild spirit, how to build a partnership, and most importantly, how to trust in herself. While doing so, Georgie opens up in ways she hasn't for years. She shares memories of her own struggles, not with regret, but with a newfound wisdom. For the first time, she talks about her past, not as something to overcome, but as an integral part of who she is. But that doesn't mean she's ready to settle down. Not yet. The theme of personal freedom surfaces a few times in season 19, mostly through side characters. Lou explores new business ventures. Tim grapples with the idea of retirement. And even Jack reflects on the choices that shaped his life. People around Georgie are embracing new paths and moving forward. And although Georgie smiles and supports them, a question lingers over her. Is she restless, or is she simply seeking her own unique path? Another important thread in Georgie's season 19 journey is her evolving relationship with Ty's memory. As she matures, her understanding of his impact on the family deepens. She's less focused on the immediate grief and more on the enduring legacy of his spirit. What makes their interactions powerful is how much the presence of Ty, even in memory, subtly challenges Georgie to define her own legacy. There's a moment when Lisa asks, "What kind of mark do you want to leave, Georgie?" Georgie doesn't answer immediately, but the contemplative look on her face speaks volumes. That simple question hits harder than any dramatic scene could. It's a reminder that Georgie has been defining herself through external achievements, almost as if she's afraid of truly embracing her own internal compass. The family dynamic is also central this season. Jack remains the unwavering foundation, though his quiet contemplation suggests a desire for more peaceful days. Tim is, as always, a whirlwind of ideas, but with a surprising introspection. Lou juggles her responsibilities as a busy entrepreneur and mother, and Peter continues to be a steady if often distant presence. Georgie stands in the midst of it all, still the dynamic force, still the independent spirit, but the internal shifts are becoming apparent. She doesn't complain, she doesn't break down, but fans can see that she's contemplating. Not physically, but deeply. Contemplating what she truly desires. Contemplating what freedom means to her. What makes Georgie's journey in season 19 so unique is the gradual, organic way it unfolds. There are no grand declarations, no sudden epiphanies, just small moments, lingering gazes, introspective thoughts, and solitary rides. These moments reveal more than words ever could, and they prepare us for what's coming. Because beneath all the ambition and routine, Georgie is preparing herself for a choice. A decision that she hasn't voiced aloud, but one that's growing clearer with every episode. Is she going to keep pursuing what she's always chased? Or is she ready to seek something solely for herself, for the first time in a long time? As season 19 progresses, it becomes evident that Georgie is reaching a crossroads, not because of external drama or impending danger, but because of quiet personal growth. And this gradual emotional journey leads directly to the ending that fans are still discussing. An ending that feels small at first, until you realize its immense significance. The events leading to the impactful finale. a quiet awakening within Georgie. Not all transformations come with fanfare. Some develop slowly in silence until they change everything. That's how Georgie's path in the second half of season 19 begins. It starts with subtle shifts, moments so quiet that most wouldn't notice. But for those who have followed Georgie's story since the beginning, the signs are clear. Something is stirring inside her, and it's not something anyone around her fully comprehends. It begins with Lisa, the woman who has always been her mentor, her guide in the equestrian world, her sounding board for every ambitious dream, suddenly seems more focused on her own enduring passion for horses than the competitive circuit. In one episode, Lisa decides to step back from some of her professional obligations to spend more time with a new challenging rescue horse. The family expresses their support, calling it a much-deserved break. But for Georgie, it's a revelation. Dreams don't always look the way you expect. Mentors evolve. The one she depends on for guidance might not always be leading the charge. That moment prompts deep reflection in Georgie, even if she doesn't voice it aloud. She starts spending more time with Lisa, not just riding, but truly listening, learning not just about horsemanship, but about finding contentment beyond the spotlight. Then comes something unexpected, a package. It's not from a family member or an old friend. It's from someone connected to Georgie's past as a young runaway. The details are left vague at first, but the message hits hard. There's something she hadn't fully processed about her early life, something that shaped her fierce independence. The package doesn't break Georgie, but it stirs emotions she had compartmentalized long ago. A sense of lingering questions, a deeper curiosity, even a strange sense of understanding. She begins to question how much of her life has been built on proving herself, on escaping, on a drive that she's never truly examined. Meanwhile, Heartland itself seems to be evolving. The ranch is still beautiful, still bustling, but priorities are shifting. Lou is immersed in new community projects and contemplating a different kind of public service. Tim gets into another debate about the sustainability of their current operations. And Katie, who once looked to Georgie as a fearless older sister, begins to find her own quiet confidence. Georgie watches it all quietly, supportively, but inside she's realizing that she's been striving, while the world around her finds a different rhythm. Then comes Maya, the young rider Georgie has been mentoring. Maya starts asking probing questions, not just about horses, but about living authentically. One evening she asks Georgie, "How do you know when you're truly free?" Georgie is caught off guard. She pauses, considers, then finally says, "I don't know yet, but I'm starting to figure it out." That answer stays with her. She wonders if she's still chasing a definition of freedom given to her by others, or if maybe, just maybe, it's time to start building a life not from external validation, but from an internal sense of purpose. Georgie's bond with Amy also strengthens. Amy, now more grounded, surprises everyone when she gently redirects Georgie's focus from competitive goals to the pure joy of connecting with horses. Georgie watches with admiration, but also with a sense of gentle challenge. Amy doesn't need her to be the same way anymore, not like before. And instead of resistance, Georgie feels something new, clarity, a strange liberating clarity that feels both daunting and full of possibility. As all these threads pull tighter, Georgie starts doing something she hasn't done in years, taking solo rides, not for training or competition, but simply for herself. She begins taking long rides through untouched trails, across fields and streams, remembering who she was before the pressure to achieve. She whispers her old runaway name sometimes, but more often she just listens to the wind, to the rhythm of her horse, to the sound of her own desires, finally getting clearer after years of being masked by ambition. The final build-up begins when Georgie finds an old journal she kept when she first arrived at Heartland, but never completed. It's tucked away in a forgotten box. She reads it slowly, a quiet understanding washing over her. It's a collection of raw feelings, but also a hidden yearning for something more. In it, she admits that she always thought she needed to prove herself to find belonging. But now, years later, she belongs, and she's realizing she might be ready to live differently. Then, without telling anyone her full intentions, Georgie begins to prepare. She organizes her tack. She visits her favorite quiet spot on the ranch. She gives Amy a long, meaningful hug. She tells Jack quietly, "Thank you for showing me what home truly means." No one knows precisely what she's planning, not even Amy, but fans watching closely can feel it. A transition is coming, not from the people she loves, but from the part of herself that's been driven by external expectations for too long. By the time the finale arrives, Georgie isn't the same woman we saw at the start of season 19. She hasn't become someone entirely new, but she's finally let go of what's been subtly holding her back. And the moment of truth is closer than anyone thinks. The final episode breakdown. Georgie's choice wasn't loud, but it resonated deeply forever when the final episode of Heartland season 19 begins.
Everything feels hushed, almost too hushed, but the stillness isn't empty. It's pregnant with possibility. It's the kind of silence that precedes a profound shift. Fans who've been with Georgie for nearly 2 decades can sense it in her quiet confidence, in her thoughtful gaze, in every deliberate action she takes. Something is ending, or maybe something new is about to begin. The episode opens with Georgie waking early, even before the sun crests the horizon. She walks through the barn in silence, brushing her hand across the stalls, the jumps, the worn saddle she's trained with for so long. Everything seems normal, but her movements are slower, more contemplative. She isn't rushing. She's acknowledging a moment, though she doesn't say a word, and that's what makes it powerful. Georgie's always been strong in her silent resolve, and this moment is no different. Later that morning, she shares breakfast with the family. Jack talks about the changing seasons. Blue discusses her upcoming initiatives. Lindy hums a tune while drawing on a napkin. Everything looks like a normal Heartland morning, but Georgie observes each moment as if imprinting it on her memory. Her smile is soft, but behind her eyes there's a depth of feeling, and still she says nothing. Then comes the conversation that changes everything. Georgie takes Amy aside. They sit by the creek, the water gently flowing. Amy asks, "Are you finding your peace, Georgie?" And Georgie answers with something that surprises even the audience. She says, "I think I'm ready to create my own kind of peace." It's the first clear indication that Georgie has made a definitive choice. She doesn't elaborate. She doesn't lay out a detailed plan, but it's clear she's done striving for external validation, done holding back her deepest desires, and done living a life defined by others. In the next scene, Georgie visits a quiet, secluded spot in the hills that was a refuge for her early on. She brings nothing, no gestures, just herself. She stands looking out at the sprawling landscape and quietly says, "Thank you for guiding me, but I have to ride my own path now." That moment stirred fans, not because it was overtly dramatic, but because it was so authentic. Georgie isn't forgetting her journey at Heartland. She's not dismissing its impact. She's simply allowing herself to define her own future. As the day goes on, Georgie begins preparing for something unspoken. She packs a small bag, not the kind of bag for a long journey, but something symbolic, a fresh start. She writes a note, one we don't see immediately, and leaves it on her bed. Amy finds it later, and reads it silently. Her face softens with understanding. There are no words in the scene, just a knowing glance between Amy and Jack. They understand, and they let her go. The final 10 minutes of the episode are beautifully executed. Georgie walks into the barn one last time, touches the nose of a young horse she's helped train, and whispers, "Trust your instincts." She saddles her own horse, and rides out alone. No specific destination is revealed. No grand farewell speech, just the image of her riding into the vast horizon, her hair blowing in the wind, the ranch slowly receding behind her. What makes this ending so impactful is how subtle it is. Viewers were expecting a big show-jumping triumph, maybe a new romantic interest, or a dramatic life event. Instead, we got something even more powerful, a quiet farewell to a chapter, and a brave first step into a future only Georgie can define. The final shot is poignant. Georgie stops her horse at the top of a distant ridge, and looks back at Heartland. She doesn't cry. She smiles. Just a small, knowing smile. Then she turns forward again and rides off. The screen fades to black. Fans were left in thought. Not because Georgie left with noise, but because she left with conviction. For a character who had spent years finding her place, this was the first time we saw her truly claim her own direction. And that decision, simple as it looked, changed everything. Not just for Georgie, but for the entire Heartland narrative. What Georgie's final decision truly means. A new understanding begins at Heartland. When the screen faded to black, and Georgie disappeared over that distant ridge, the Heartland fanbase was left with a powerful sense of shift. Not because she said goodbye, but because of what that goodbye truly represented. It wasn't just the end of season 19. It was the beginning of a new chapter. One written in self-discovery, quiet strength, and stunning courage. Georgie didn't leave to run away. She left to find herself. And that changes everything.
For years, Georgie Fleming Morris was a symbol of ambition and resilience at Heartland. She carried her past like a shadow, pursued her dreams with relentless drive, and stood strong while life presented countless challenges. But this time, she chose a different path. She chose herself, on her own terms. And in that simple decision, packing a small bag, riding alone, with no dramatic promises or tearful speeches, she subtly redefined the very essence of her character. Fans across the world are now asking the same question: what happens next? Some believe Georgie is gone for good, that she's starting a new life somewhere far from Hudson, that her journey now belongs to her alone, off-screen, finding the parts of herself that had been hidden beneath aspiration and defiance for too long. If that's true, then season 19 is a quiet farewell, a passing of a certain kind of torch. Others think this is only temporary, that Georgie needs time, but she'll return stronger, more self-aware, and with a renewed sense of purpose. Some fans have even shared theories that she might return with news that redefines everything. Maybe she'll embark on a project that combines her skills with a deeper meaning. Maybe she'll find answers to lingering questions from her past that help complete her journey. Or maybe, just maybe, she'll come back not as the show jumper, but as the woman who finally learned to fully trust her own inner voice. Another powerful theory is that Heartland is shifting its focus. Katie, Amy's niece, has shown more signs of being a quiet, observant presence than ever before. She connects with the family effortlessly. She speaks with a gentle strength. She's empathetic, resilient, and insightful. In the final episodes, Katie begins to take on more emotional responsibility within the family. Some viewers believe season 20 will focus on Katie stepping into her own light, while Georgie's journey continues elsewhere in stories, reflections, or maybe guest appearances. That Amy's reaction to Georgie's choice is also something fans can't stop talking about. The fact that she didn't try to dissuade her says more than words could. It shows that she too has grown, that the family, once defined by its protective nature, is now strong enough to let go. Georgie's choice forced everyone around her to face change, including Lou, who finally sees that leadership sometimes means accepting when it's time to let others forge their own paths. And then there's the question of legacy. What does Georgie's departure mean for the spirit of Heartland? If the ranch is about growth, resilience, and unconditional love, then Georgie's ride into the horizon doesn't break that spirit. It proves it. Because growth doesn't mean staying static. Sometimes it means letting go and trusting that the people and places you love will be okay without your constant presence. That's the deepest kind of strength. The fan response to the finale has been overwhelming, social media flooded with posts, reactions, and theories. Some viewers felt a pang of sadness, not ready for this shift. Others felt inspired, seeing Georgie's quiet courage as the most honest ending she could have. Words like evolving, courageous, and beautifully true have appeared again and again. One fan even wrote, "She didn't ride away from Heartland, she rode into her own truth." In the end, Georgie's decision wasn't about leaving the show. It was about honoring her character's journey. After years of seeking external validation, she finally chose her own internal compass. And that's what made it impactful. Not because it was loud, but because it was genuine. Whether she returns or not, season 19 gave us a profound moment of self-realization and opened the door to something new. As Heartland heads into its future, whether it continues with Katie, the next generation, or in a different direction altogether, it carries the weight and wisdom of Georgie's journey. A journey that reminds all of us that it's never too late to redefine your path, to choose self-discovery, to choose courage, to choose you. And for fans, that quiet decision will resonate long after the credits rolled. Because Georgie Fleming Morris didn't just ride away, she finally rode free. Georgie's departure wasn't loud. It wasn't a definitive end, but it was profoundly honest. That kind of moment doesn't just a chapter. It challenges every character, every storyline, and every fan to look forward with new eyes. As Heartland heads towards season 20, one thing is clear: nothing will ever be quite the same again. The legacy Georgie leaves behind isn't just about show jumping or overcoming adversity. It's about transformation, about showing that even after decades of experiences and challenges, there's still space to grow. And now Heartland must face the future without the daily presence of the woman who embodied such a fierce, independent spirit. For the characters on the ranch, and for the viewers, this is uncharted territory. A future that feels both exciting and uncertain. Season 20 must answer the big question: who steps into the evolving emotional center now? Will Katie become the new focus, continuing the family's gentle connection with a new kind of strength? Already in season 19, we saw her growing empathy and wisdom. Her bond with Amy was strong, but now she stands more independently, ready perhaps to begin her own journey as a grounding force on the ranch. Lou might become the new strategic backbone of the family, but her life is still multifaceted, torn between ambition and personal growth. Her dynamic with Peter is still evolving. Her public aspirations are growing, and without Georgie's dynamic presence nearby, Lou may be forced to adapt in ways she never planned. Jack, the enduring soul of Heartland, also faces a significant role. With Georgie gone and his own desire for tranquility growing, he must make peace with letting others carry the torch in different ways. His final scene in season 19 shows a man who understands that loving someone means allowing them to pursue their own path, even if it means stepping back. That depth of wisdom will be crucial in guiding Katie, Lindy, and even Tim in the seasons ahead. And then there's the ranch itself. Heartland has always been more than land and horses. It's a symbol for healing, for fresh starts, for the enduring power of connection that never gives up. But now, without Georgie's spirited presence in the arena, the energy will change. Will the young riders still find the same inspiration? Will the challenges still be met with the same fierce determination? Or will a new kind of magic take root, perhaps led by Katie, Maya, or someone new? There's also the question fans are whispering about. Will Georgie return? Maybe not as a regular character, but as a guiding spirit through letters, visits, or maybe just memories shared between characters. Her presence could still shape Heartland's story. After all, you don't just erase someone like Georgie Fleming Morris. She's part of the land, the spirit, the legacy. Even in her absence, she inspires. And the writers now face a delicate challenge. Season 20 can't pretend everything is simply fine. It must explore the nuanced feelings again. Not the kind that comes from loss, but the quiet reflection of missing someone who's still out there, pursuing their own path. It's a different kind of feeling, one that teaches us that love is not always about holding on to control. It's sometimes about letting go and trusting in individual journeys. Georgie's final choice in season 19